What up, y'all? Welcome back to the show. This is Waiver Wire Ads Week 3. We just completed Week 2 tonight. If you guys were watching, we had two Monday Night Football games, which was a special treat. Second game wasn't all that great, which was the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Los Angeles Chargers. That was a barn burner. Geno Smith did not look the part today. We saw Ashton Genty score the less. He actually scored, less than 10 points, and so did Omarion Hampton. There was a costly fumbled at the end that we are currently hearing right now. It did not accredit to Omarion Hampton. It went to Justin Herbert. And if that impacted your matchup this week, I do apologize. That sucks. That's awful. It's not one way to lose it, especially with a stat correction. It obviously, if you watched the game, it seemed it was more of Omarion Hampton's fault, but because the ball wasn't fully in his possession, they're gonna give it to Justin Herbert. We're gonna go right into this. I have the quarterbacks up right now who are available in my league currently right now, but might be available in your league as well. Just spoke about Geno Smith. He's someone I'm just going to leave out there. You got to be in a desperate need for a quarterback. And when I say desperate need, that's going to be more of a two quarterback league, super flex league, where you have to start two quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is still out there as well. Not very fond of what we got from him this past week. But we talked about it last week's waiver wire show. We talked about players like this. It's kind of hard to have a lot of expectations. Most of these quarterbacks, you're not planning to start every week. These are kind of guys that you're going to get and spot start in most cases. Matthew Stafford is a great option who's still out there right now, I think, in terms of having as a backup in a one quarterback league. Obviously, if it's a two quarterback league or super flex league, you should have him rostered. The main guy I want to talk about right now is Daniel Jones, who I believe is probably the best waiver wire pickup this weekend. Daniel Jones scores 31 fantasy points last week versus Miami. We saw the numbers, we saw the outing, and it was awesome. The biggest test came this week versus the Denver Broncos, who quite arguably is the best defense in the league, but did not play like it. And if you had roster the Denver Broncos this week, sorry, the outcome was not what you wanted at all. In some leagues, you probably got negative points, in others, just a big fat zero. Very unfortunate, but fortunate for free agent in fantasy football, Daniel Jones, who's looking really good in this Shane Steichen offense. We see here he scored 24 fantasy points, 316 passing yards, 1 touchdown, rushing yards, 6 attempts, 2 yards only. But here's the most important thing: 1 touchdown. The 34 attempts is also encouraging. They are allowing him to drop back. They are depending on his arm. And even with 1 passing touchdown, as we're seeing this week and last week, I expect that number to go up. He has options. Tyler Warren is currently his number 1 option, but I think there are receivers in that squad who can start shining real soon for him and catching more touchdowns. Daniel Jones, if he's out there, I would recommend to snatch him, especially given the news that we just got today about all these quarterbacks who are unfortunately injured, especially heading into week 3, y'all. Adam Schefter tweeted earlier today, kind of giving us a breakdown, a rundown of all those quarterbacks. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels is dealing with a knee sprain, expecting to probably not have him play this week. Jets quarterback Justin Fields, if you had him this week, I had him in a few leagues. I'm actually losing some of my matchups thanks to Justin Fields' outcome. But yeah, he didn't give you anything this week. He didn't look good, and then he also got hurt, got the concussion protocol. If you have him, hope that he clears it. If not, we're going to start looking for hopefully guys like Daniel Jones if you don't have a backup quarterback already. The other quarterback out there that is also injured is 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy, which we talked a little bit about last week. We just had Mac Jones starting, and I'm about to get to him shortly. And then the biggest news that dropped today was Joe Burrow officially needing toe surgery and out for a minimum of 3 months. It's looking likely he won't be back at all this season. Maybe there's a scenario he is, and for that, you can still keep him on your IR. He's kind of a hard player to just drop, especially if they are in position for a playoff and they decide to bring Joe Burrow back. He's still the guy, but very unfortunate news that we got today in that. I'm going to talk about Mac Jones, who is right here. Mac Jones had a really good fantasy day. 27 fantasy points, 270 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and then this is what was encouraging. Maybe the yards obviously was not encouraging, 1 yard per attempt, but 6 rushing attempts is encouraging. Mac Jones, if you've seen him in the past, he can run a little bit. 39 pass attempts, was dropping back a lot versus the New Orleans Saints. They got the win, a big win, but Mac Jones is in Kyle Shanahan's quarterback-friendly system. It is a system that really helps, benefits quarterbacks like him. I think that he is a guy in deeper leagues, or if you're in an absolute desperate need for quarterbacks, given the news that we got, he's a guy you may want to look into. Outside of that, those are the options we kind of talked about. Let's get into wide receivers. Some leagues are going to have Rashad Bateman. I think he's a name that most people are going to probably be dropping this week to get other guys. Romeo Doubs is a player right now. We're just not getting enough production from him. I know he scored a touchdown, but without that touchdown, this doesn't look the same. He's a guy, again, if you're in desperate need of a wide receiver, he is someone that you could consider right now. Matthew Golden is a really talented wide receiver, in my opinion. And even though the box score stats don't show that, if you watch the games, he is constantly getting wide open. Matthew Golden may not be ready yet, so Romeo Doubs already has a connection with Jordan Love. Xavier Legette, what an awful, look at that. 8 targets and a -2 receiving yards. We're going to keep him right there where he belongs. That offense in Carolina does not look good. The most encouraging thing about that offense right now is Ted McMillan, but we also got news today that they are going to be missing 2 offensive linemen. Things are not looking good for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to scroll down here. There's some other names here that, we talked about. Isaac Tesla, who also scored a big, he didn't score a touchdown, but he caught a big catch, which you see here. 1 reception for 29 yards. He's still someone to keep an eye out unless you're in a 14, 16 team league. He's someone you can stash. Unless you have room, I wouldn't stash him. There's still room. We don't really know how that's going to look over there. But as far as talent goes, definitely someone to put on your watch list. Alec Ayomaner is the guy I want to talk about from the Tennessee Titans. If you look at what he did week 1, you're not encouraged by that because there's 3 fantasy points. But the snap shares were up. 7 targets was very intriguing. Here comes week 2. They play the Los Angeles Rams. And if you've been watching my shows and even my live, we talked about opportunities for this receiving core and for the quarterback in Cam Ward versus the Los Angeles Ram. And we got to see the outcome here. 6 targets, 4 reception, 56 yards, but the touchdown was very impressive. Seems like he is the clear number 2 wide receiver behind Calvin Ridley. If you want to look at an interesting stat, currently right now leading in targets is Calvin Ridley, and by 1 target alone is Ayomaner right behind him. I think he is one of the biggest pickups this week. I would rank him number 2, just behind Daniel Jones. He's a wide receiver you should be going out there and grabbing. There are going to be some leagues who already have him stashed, which kudos to you if you have him already. But if he is out there, go get him. And that's what I will leave you with. But yes, there's not a lot of wide receivers that are going to blow your mind this week. But we're going to mention one more guy. His name is Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin has a former connection already with Bro Nix, the Denver Broncos, his current quarterback. It was his quarterback at Oregon, and that obviously plays a role in all of this because there is a connection already there, which they are able to transition now to the NFL. Week 1, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 44 yards. We didn't get a touchdown, but we got 8 fantasy points out of it. We wanted to look in to see what happens week 2. Week 2, we got the outing, y'all. 8 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown. He even rushed for one play. Sean Payton usually gets creative, and he has all these play designs always ready to go. 9 targets is also encouraging. I know there are folks who are going to probably put him on a watch list this week. Some are going to be very bullish on the idea that you should pick him up. I am more on that side of the fence. I think you guys should pick him up. I think he's someone you should stash. There's a role for him here. Whatever Cortland Sutton did this past week, do not be discouraged. He's still the guy over there. But I really like that we got to see another player do well this week in Troy Franklin. And with everything else I just mentioned, I think that connection being there and existing with him and Bo Nix is just the icing on the cake. I think he's someone you should prioritize for tomorrow as we get ready to put our waiver wire claims. As far as wide receivers goes, I can go a little bit deeper here. Torrey Horton also scored a touchdown, but I'm just going to look this guy up, and I want him to be on your watch list. Jalen Noel. Here's the reason why. I don't believe Jaden Higgins is out there. If he is, you should be grabbing him. But Jalen Noel is someone I want to keep an eye out. As far as special teams go, if you're looking at the fantasy points, 1 catch, 7 yards, 2 targets. That's not going to do it for you. But he's someone I think you should put in your watch list, especially with Christian Kirk being out for as long as he's been out. Braxton Berrios is also on that team. You see guys like Justin Watson. Now I'm naming guys after Christian Kirk that are probably not going to have a role moving forward. Was very encouraged what I saw from Jaden Higgins, but Jalen Noel, another Iowa State product. He was drafted here. I think there's so much talent here, and I think he's going to be a sneaky player as the season goes on. I'm mentioning him because for today's game, he had a really good he had some really good moments in special teams. Usually when players like that play well in special teams, that already gives them an extra boost for getting more opportunities on the playing field. So Noel, put him on your watch list. He's not someone you need right now unless you're in a 16, 18 team league. You can stash him, but it's someone I definitely want to keep an eye out for. He has a ton of talent, and I think for fantasy purposes, he's going to do well. All right, let's go to running back. Running back, it's going to look different, obviously, everywhere you go. You're going to have players available and others that are not available. Austin Eckler got dropped, as we saw. IR. If you have Bill Krosky Merritt, you are in good hands as far as we know, right? We might start seeing some Chris Rodriguez, but I am very bullish on Bill Krosky Merritt. I think he's in great position now to take over the backfield. He has no competition. All the well wishes to Austin Eckler and speedy recovery to him. All right, Jerome Ford dropped. As we already know, these aren't guys you want to start picking up. I will mention Woody Marks. I think Woody Marks is an interesting player. We saw Dameon Pierce, someone I was bullish on, and thought that he would be a perfect player for this system. It looks like they think otherwise, of course, and they are the smarter people here. But Dameon Pierce was a healthy scratch today. It seems like Woody Marks has leaped him in the depth chart, and I believe he's going to start having a role real soon. Nick Chubb had a really good game. I know I've always been, especially this year, I shouldn't say always, but this season specifically, been very cautiously optimistic with him and very watchful of playing him just simply because of all the injuries he's been through, how bad this offensive line is. I didn't really think the production was going to be there, but after tonight's game, it's really nice to see him still have that juice in him. So that's Nick Chubb. Woody Marks would probably be RB2 at some point. I don't know if he's exactly that necessarily on the depth chart because they still have Dare Ogunbowale, who is a pass catching back, who usually is in there for game script purposes when they are playing from behind and they need someone to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think Woody Marks is the guy they drafted to basically replace that role. And Woody Marks is the younger guy with speed, also a good pass protector, but also a good pass catcher. I wouldn't worry too much about this. Yes, 3 attempts for 14 rushing yards. I don't think if he's on the field, it's going to be to, run between the tackles. It's going to be more of a pass catching opportunity. We still have the Chicago guys here, guys. DeAndre Swift is getting a lot of opportunities for fantasy football. It looks good, but for real life NFL, the Chicago Bears are dead last in ranks as far as the rush goes. I expect to see one of these guys start to get in and mix it up a little bit. Kyle Manungai had 7 carries, 28 yards, 1 catch, 8 yards, but 3 targets. We'll see how that looks moving forward. But 2 guys to put on your watch list. Again, watch list. Running backs are just thin. Blake Corum is a guy I'll throw out there. We don't have to get too into it, but Blake Corum, if you have Kyren Williams, Blake Corum had a good week this week, but, Sean McVay usually keeps his RB1 fed. And I think if they start mixing it up a little bit, we still see a big workload from Kyren. But if Kyren Williams were to get hurt, Blake Corum should be rostered everywhere, obviously. So I only say that if you have space in your bench and you have Kyren Williams, he's not a bad stash. It looks as if Blake Corum is probably RB2. I know a lot of the question marks we had during the offseason. Is it Jarquez Hunter or is it Blake Corum? I think as of now, we're starting to get a little more intel that it's going to be Blake Corum. As far as tight end goes, obviously, this is one of the leagues that I'm in. Things look different. Zach Ertz shouldn't be out there, in my opinion. Dallas Goedert was hurt. This is obviously this league, but I want to talk about guys that you should be seeing out there. And one of those guys is named Isaiah Likely. Harold Fannin Jr., by the way, should not be out there. And if he is, you should be snatching him up and prioritizing him. He had another good outing. But Isaiah Likely, I wanted to mention him because we are expecting him to be back for week 3 as far as the information we have gotten. So if he does come back indeed week 3, he's going to be big. Mark Andrews has not looked the best. Isaiah Likely is a big red zone target. We know Zay Flowers isn't a red zone target. Isaiah Likely kind of walks in there back to the same role that he had before, which was a healthy role, and basically had him rostered on most teams last season. I know he was a big week 1 waiver wire ad last year. I believe he should be a waiver wire ad this week, especially if you need some depth at tight end. But as far as a stash player, I think you should be prioritizing Isaiah Likely. I want to mention one more position. I know we didn't talk about it last week, but I want to throw it out there this week. For defense, this is usually for folks who are streaming defenses. Again, do not be discouraged if you had the Denver Broncos defense that gave you -6 or 0 or whatever it was based off of the scoring that you have in your current league. Seattle is a team that I am intrigued by. They will be playing. Who are they playing this week? They are playing the New Orleans Saints. That is a team I would keep an eye out as far as if you're streaming defenses and you need to pick someone up. Seattle is that team I'm intrigued by. And the other team, let's see if it's out here. It is indeed out here. Atlanta Falcons. They play the Carolina Panthers. That's another team you should be prioritizing if you are streaming. Again, if you are streaming defenses, some defenses should be kept. Pittsburgh Steelers haven't been giving you the fantasy numbers that you would like, but they should be a team you're probably starting regardless. As far as teams to stream, those are the two teams I wanted to throw your way. I think they're interesting. And again, if you're streaming, that's where we should be at, right? All right, y'all. That's about it. I appreciate you guys hopping on and watching this. Please give a like and make sure to subscribe if you aren't already. Share this with friends in other leagues. I also want to mention that this past Sunday we had a really good live show. A lot of people were able to jump on, which was really cool. I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you to all that tuned in. We will be doing it all over again this Sunday. Start sit question, DFS talk. We're going to talk through this slate. This slate is going to be really interesting. I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of it because we now have this information that JJ McCarthy is going to be out. Well, Carson Wentz is going to be bare minimum cheap, just like we got Mac Jones. I expect them to be a little bit higher owned this week than Mac Jones was last week because of the price and how much you can still add in there. So Carson Wentz is a name you want to look at. And now Aaron Jones is also out. So those are two Minnesota Viking guys that you might be prioritizing on your teams. That is Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is about to play really well this week. I expect that. If he is out there, somehow magically out there, you guys should be prioritizing him for sure. Once again, thank you so much for hopping on. Down below, I have my Instagram handle and my TikTok handle as well. Please support if you can. If you like what I'm doing, I appreciate the support. Obviously, I told you guys this in the past. Make sure to comment. Give me some names that you guys are looking into and wanting to go after. And yeah, good luck this waiver wire period. And I hope you guys land all the players you want. Take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.